Hello, everyone. Welcome to Language Week 2021. Thank you for joining us for our virtual roundtable on English teaching and learning. It's a great pleasure for me to be here. And I'd like to say thank you to the organizing committee. They have been working hard in setting up this opportunity for dialogue and exchange experiences in a collaborative environment like this. I'd like to extend my greetings to all my colleagues, students, and participants who tuning in for our roundtable, and the panelists who have agreed to talk to us today. It's an incredible moment, and as we all know, it's an increasingly challenging time that we're living in, a time of disruption in our lives and in the life of our country and the world. With this in mind, I hope that this event will act as a catalyst for knowledge sharing. Without further ado, let's get started. Our topic, as you know, is English teaching and learning. During this roundtable, it will be discussed the role of self-esteem in the global researcher education, music as a critical instrument in English teaching and learning, and the emotions, identities of a student teacher during her teaching learning English in pandemic times. Before introducing the panelists, I'd like to encourage everyone to participate by asking questions using the chat function. Now, I'd like to invite the first panel member, Luana Caetano Thibes.
Good evening.
Hi, Luana. So, Luana is a doctoral student at the postgraduate program in language and representations at the UESC. Currently, she is a professor of English and Portuguese language at UESB in Itapetinga. Her advisor is Professor Isaías de Carvalho. I think Isaías is here. So good evening, Isaías. The next guest is Larissa Mendonça. Hi, Larissa.
Hello.
She's
Good evening.
undergraduate. Good evening. She's undergraduate student of language with a double major in Portuguese and English at UESC. And she's also a voluntary scholarship student of scientific initiation at UESC. And her advisor is Professor Suelen Martins. Hi, Suelen. And our final guest is Francielli de Almeida Moraes. She's an undergraduate student of language with a double major in Portuguese and English at UESC. And she's also a FAPESB Scientific Initiation Scholarship with the theme Music as a Critical Instrument in Teaching and Learning English. And her advisor is Tatiana Pertel. Now, I'm going to invite Luana, our first guest, to start her presentation.
Okay, then I'll start. Hi, guys. Good evening again. First of all, I would like to thank for the invitation. I was really happy. I'm always happy to be invited for these roundtables, but this one about education, about teaching and learning it's so exciting because now I get to be a teacher, I get to be a professor, and I get to try the things I've learned on the when I was graduating, when I was an undergraduate. So I was so happy to think outside the box and come here to talk about my experience as a professor. Then I should start with my slides. I think the here, there you go. Okay, so I decided to talk to you today about the role of self-esteem in the global researcher education, because I'm a professor, especially in the English for Specific Purposes course. And I would like to talk to you about my experience and what I actually what I had to read to start working with my students' self-esteem. So first of all, I will go around some theories about self-esteem, and then we'll talk about the experience I had with my students. Can you go to the next slide, please? So first of all, Brown talks about self-esteem, and he says that it could easily be claimed that no successful cognitive or affective activity can be carried out without some degree of self-esteem, self-confidence, knowledge of yourself, and belief in your own capabilities for that activity. So he talks about three types of self-esteem. The first of all is the general self-esteem or global self-esteem. The general self-esteem is said to be relatively stable in a mature adult. So it's resistant to change except by active and extended therapy. So usually it's the general self-esteem is the one that prevailing assessment one makes of one's own worth over time and across a number of situations. So even if it's a low self-esteem or a high self-esteem, it's the general one, the image one has of themselves. The second one is the situational self-esteem or specific self-esteem. It refers to one's self-appraisals in particular life situations, social interaction, work, education, home, or in certain relatively discreetly defined traits, such as your intelligence, your communicative ability, your athletic ability. And the third one is your task self-esteem. So this one is even more specific. It relates to particular tasks within specific situations. So if within the educational domain, you have a task self-esteem in some area, some subject matter area. So this would be the three types of self-esteem. Then you can go to the next one. Next slide, please. And then Kazumata talks about self-esteem and risk-taking. So now we're going to the moment we're talking about the self-esteem while we're doing oral production, when we're talking about English as a second language, learning a second language, like second language acquisition. So Kazumata talks about oral production tasks differ from reading and writing tasks. So usually we when we are teaching English as for specific purposes in an academic situation, we focus on reading and writing. And the oral production, it's completely different because it poses a greater potential for damaging one's self-esteem in the process of second language acquisition. So in a conversational setting, students do not have enough time to consult a dictionary for accurate pronunciation and grammar use before performance turns. I'll talk about my students talking about it. It's interesting what they have to say about it. Whereas reading and writing tasks normally allow a student enough time to organize sentences and to find the most appropriate word. People with healthy self-esteem suffer no psychological damage when they are misunderstood and given negative feedback. So we all know that we've all seen that when someone is confident, when someone has a healthy self-esteem, they can take the negative feedback. But on the other hand, an insecure learner, fear of making a mistake, and receiving unwanted feedback. And it can impede experimentations with new learned knowledge. We've seen people that they were insecure and they received a negative feedback and they were like, now I'm blocked. I can't learn English because a professor on the first semester said I was not good. So this is what Kazumata is talking about. As verbal rehearsal is necessary for information to be stored on the long-term memory, this can impede language learning. So next slide, please. And then Habrat talks about specifically the self-esteem in the learning process of English as a second language. First of all, he talks about psychological functioning. He says, positive affect yields development advantages and is related to success in psychological, social, physical, and cognitive areas in life. Happy individuals tend to have more fulfilling marriages and relationships, higher incomes, and better work performance, as well as enjoy better health and longevity prospects than their less happy counterparts. They also review behavior generally regarded as desirable confidence, optimism, effective coping with stress, energy, sociability, or altruism. Positive affect holders experience frequent positive moods, and there is more chance of working actively towards new goals while experiencing those moods. So as a professor, I want my students to feel these effects. I want them to feel happy, to feel confident, to feel easygoing with my course. I always think about those professors that are like, school should be a place where students fear the professor, and that's not good, because the students, if a student comes to him today and this student is not confident enough, it doesn't have this self-confidence from the start, they will have some problems with learning. The next slide, please. And then Habrat goes ahead the next and talks about this self-esteem in education, in the education context. So he talks about how the affect is important in this education context. Affective assessment on different types of different types of stimuli underlies cognition and controls the process of decision making. A positive assessment of a stimulus facilitates approaching similar stimuli in the future, while a negative assessment leads to avoidance. So if the student has these negative stimuli from the beginning, it will lead to avoidance of that specific topic. In this case, in learning English, in speaking English, the context of learning is characterized by the same mechanisms. When a stimulus, for instance, a successful oral performance is positively appraised, it will positively influence the learner's desire to devote attention and effort for future learning. A positive appraisal underlines learner motivation. If it's a negative appraisal, less attention and effort will be devoted in the future. And the last part about Habrat, please. And talking about specifically second language education, so you'll see how Habrat goes from the whole to the specific area where we are doing this research, second language acquisition. In the area of second language acquisition, it is only in the last decades of the 20th century that the affective domain was recognized as having some relevance for language learning alongside cognitive processing. A certain shift in emphasis was triggered by the claims of humanistic psychology in the 60s. The human beings was perceived as a feeling, thinking individual, possessing a rich sphere of spirituality. The appreciation of the role of the emotional factor in learning accounting for the emergency of the holistic approach to language learning, according to which the process means developing understanding of the world, oneself, and others. So in this area of SLA, only in the last decades, only from the 60s to here, the studies showed how the effects, the caring of the teacher helped the students to learn the other language. So the next slide, please. And then Habrat finishes saying, for learning to be effective, the affective filter has to be lowered. Inhibitions and stress have to be minimized. If the filter is up, negative emotions accompanying learning, input is prevented from being taken in and the acquisition is blocked. If the filter is down, negative emotions are reduced, the acquisition takes place. In other words, affect has a say on how information is encoded in the brain and how it is retrieved. So now we have all the theory about how we should organize our classes to be a safe place, to be a caring place, how we should care for our students, how we should show affect to our students, because most of the times teachers and professors think that they should only show affect for kids, should only show affect at the first years of education, because kids usually show more affect to you. But these studies show that even in any grade, in any degree, especially when teaching a second language, when the student is going through a second language acquisition, they should be in a place where they have their filters, their affective filters, that can pass, that their inhibitions are lowered. So that's what I'm always trying to do in my classes. I try to show them that this is a safe place. This is a place where they're not being judged, not by me, not by their colleagues. And even when they are being evaluated, they are not being judged. So this is what I want to show you. And now I'll talk to you about my experience with my classes. So next slide, please. So I teach English for specific purposes at UESC. And when I got there, the syllabus said what I should do. Estudo de textos técnicos científicos em inglês e laboratório de línguas. So I was like, what am I supposed to do? Unfortunately, the teachers that have to take English for specific purposes know that we have so less time for so many things we want to do. So we have to focus on reading and understanding, reading text, reading an abstract, reading an article. And I was always worried because I wanted my students to have more than that. Because when they sign up for class, they're like, oh, English. I want to take English because I want to learn English. And English for specific purposes, it's for specific purposes. And I teach in 3 undergraduate programs: pedagogy, physics, and environmental engineering. So these are 3 different contexts. The students are different. Their purposes are different. What they want to do the English for is different. And their majors ask for different things. And people that know me know that I have a family member that works in physics. That's my father. So he's always telling me, okay, it's not only reading. We need to speak in English. We need to present in English. We're always taking courses in other countries, online courses. So I want my students to get by. I want them at least to understand what's going on. So that's a lot of pressure. And in environmental engineering, also I had a lot of students that wanted to go to the master's degree after. They wanted to chase the master's degree. The pedagogy students, usually they go to English thinking about teaching English later. But physics and environmental engineering, at least my classes so far, because I've been in UESC since 2019, this is the what usually happens. So my classes are small, maximum 15 students per class, but usually around 5 to 10 students per class. and I can give more attention to them. So I usually think about, okay, by the end of the semester, you will present a seminar, and you will present a seminar in English, and it will be a 5-minute seminar, and you will only speak in English. And they are all so scared, because I say that on first day of class when I want them to do that. So the next slide, so I can show how it works. So at the first moment, I explain the activity at the course's beginning. The first day of the course, I show everything I want to do with them, and I say right there, small words, seminar, all in English. And they are all so scared. They are also, oh my gosh, but I can't speak English, and I can't speak English for the next 4 months, because that's all I have with them. But the second moment is highlighting that since the theme is free, students could present something they already presented in other moments, especially because most of these students are doing scientific initiation. So I'm like, okay, you have your SIC, you have your seminars to show your results. So how about getting this presentation and just translating it, get it to English? Third moment, reassuring class that we will have a moment prior to presentation for advisory. That's the moment that they breathe lightly. Okay, before that, we'll have advisory. We'll have a day only so you can show to me what you have, and I can tell you if it will work, if it's right, and if it's wrong. And it will be a one-on-one moment. Your colleagues won't be, your friends won't be at that moment. It's me and you, and I'll tell you everything. The fourth moment is finally the advisory day. That's a 10 to 20 minutes. Okay, show me what you got. Show me if you want. It's not mandatory. If you want, show me your slides. If you want, you can present it to me, and that's the moment I'll correct them. I'll say, okay, this word is pronounced this way. This slide should be like this. And then the presentation day. And the presentation day is so nice because usually it's like, again, 5 to 10 students in class, and they dress up and they are nervous, and they have their notes. And I'm like, okay, they got ready to this. And when they finish presenting, and they're so happy, so relaxed, they're like, I did it. And all the time I reassure them, okay, you're doing great, you're doing fine. At this moment, I won't correct anything. I won't stop them to say, oh, but you should pronounce it this way, you should pronounce it that way. Because I'm so happy, even if the students made many mistakes, I will be so happy because that's what they were able to do. These were students that arrived in class with basic level of English, and they could speak for 5 minutes in English. They organized themselves, they prepared themselves to speak for 5 minutes. So at the last presentation, I have a smile from here to here, and they can feel it. That's the power of the affect. How I show them, I'm here, I'm listening to you, and I'm happy of what you just did. So at the end of the semester, of course, I want to hear them. I want to hear what they thought about it. So I always ask, okay, how about it? What did you think of it? So can you show the next slide? Of course, my students should be here. So student A, I'm not saying names, said, a experiência de apresentar um seminário em língua inglesa para a disciplina de inglês instrumental foi muito interessante e desafiadora. Inicialmente, eu tive muito medo por ter um nível de proficiência iniciante. Durante a preparação da apresentação, eu tive dificuldades, mas ao fazer a prévia individual com a professora, percebi que seria tranquilo. Esse ensaio foi essencial para que eu conseguisse apresentar com mais segurança. O momento da apresentação com todos da turma foi muito dinâmico e divertido. Como nós apresentamos trabalho que tínhamos feito em português, algumas palavras já eram conhecidas, então ficou fácil também entender as apresentações dos colegas. Apesar de gerar um certo desconforto por não ser minha língua materna, a apresentação em língua estrangeira é importante, pois pretendo seguir a carreira acadêmica. This is something really important. I keep in touch with these students, and they're now doing their selections to their master's degree because they're finishing college. And I always tell them, okay, proficiency test, and because that's my job, that's my part in this whole thing. And they understood how this was important for their academic future. So I was so happy reading this. Let's read the second student on the second slide. Next. Minha experiência em apresentar em inglês foi a melhor possível. De início, me senti insegura por não ter o domínio da língua inglesa, mas com o ensaio junto com a professora, pude pegar algumas dicas que foi essencial para me acalmar e para a minha oratória. Na minha apresentação, fui com um papel que tinha todo o meu seminário em inglês. Pensei que estaria refém a ele e que sem não conseguiria apresentar. Contudo, quando comecei a apresentar, tudo começou a fluir e me saí melhor do que pensava. Foi nessa apresentação que descobri que minha dificuldade em inglês é menor do que eu pensava, pois muitas coisas percebi que conseguia compreender bem, mas o medo de errar acabava me bloqueando. Foi então uma experiência positiva que fez com que eu olhasse o inglês de outra forma. These students, they make me so happy. And then the third student, please, the next slide. Durante minha experiência com a disciplina, estava aprendendo o inglês. This student is interesting because this class started prior to the pandemic, and then it stopped right in the middle. And at this moment, she started learning English by herself. She has this power, and she would talk to me a lot. Okay, Luana, can you help me with this? Can you give me some tips on how can I learn by myself? And then when we got back, she was so much better. She was so good. Her pronunciation was so good. So she took it easily. So, então foi mais fácil entender algumas coisas. Durante a apresentação, eu senti muita dificuldade em fazer as traduções, pois não tinha muita proficiência para montar as frases e conseguir prosseguir na fala. Então, usei o tradutor e usei essa tradução no ensaio na apresentação para me auxiliar. Por entender algumas coisas, eu queria seguir falando, mas pela falta de vocabulário, não consegui formar as frases seguintes. Fiquei frustrada e senti como se não tivesse ido bem, mas isso me ajudou a perceber que não basta compreender, saber ler ou interpretar. Eu precisava fazer as falas na minha cabeça, mesmo sendo um assunto que eu tinha domínio no português. Quando mudei as falas para o inglês, sentia como se tivesse presa ao papel da tradução, sem poder me expressar além. Então, o seminário me ajudou a ficar ciente das minhas dificuldades e de onde eu tinha que dedicar meus esforços para melhorar. So this one, she's more self-aware. She's always thinking, where can I get better? Where can I improve? But she did as great as her colleagues. So don't worry about it. It's just that her thrive to get better all the time is always making her look at where could she get better. But so this is what I wanted to show you, how this experience was so good for me and for my students. Obviously, I have other students and other classes, and at some classes, the students didn't even need the prior moment, the advisory moment. They would be like, nah, I'm okay, I'm fine. And they just presented because they felt so safe, especially because there are some classes that the students are, they all know each other. They're all friends. So it's a safe environment. And another thing I never do is I never record the presentation because they don't want to. They feel like they could be exposed. And since I want to make it a safe place for them, I'm always like, okay, so I won't, but I could, but I won't. But that's it then. Can you show the last slide? So these were some references for people that want to read a little bit more about the subject. Principles of language learning and teaching, the role of self-esteem in foreign language learning and teaching, and role of self-esteem in second language oral production performance. That's it, guys. I'm so thankful you could hear my experience, and thanks again for inviting me. Your mic is off, Pachi.
Okay, so we thank you, Luana. It was so great to hear your experience and everything that you told us tonight. So thank you. And we hope, the participants can ask you questions later on. So
Waiting for them.
let's, yeah, let's go on. So Larissa, please. The virtual stage is yours.
Good evening, everyone. Just waiting for the slide. Okay. So, as you know, my name is Larissa, and I feel right now like one of Luana's students, nervous to talk all in English to present, but I'm here and I'm going to try. So, I was invited to present this brief show about my work called Emotions-identities of a Student Teacher during her teaching learning English in pandemic time. It is under the orientation by Professor Suelen Tomás de Aquino Martins, my teacher, my professor. Next slide, please. I would like to thank you all for the opportunity, the commission, and you for listening. My presentation is it will be divided in introduction, where I'm going to talk about a self-study. What is a self-study? Why is it important? And then finally, the theoretical reference that helped me through this research. The methodological tools that is important to talk about, especially that because we are in the pandemic, so everything was different. And the results, they are partials because I'm still on the process of gathering information and producing. I'm still doing the research. So they are partials. And the discussion, finally, the conclusion of this presentation. Some thoughts. So some initial thoughts. Anastasia Samaras encouraged readers to think deeply about both the how and the why of this essential professional development tool, as they pose questions and formulate personal theories to improve professional practice. So, as a big part of my work is based on Samaras, I thought it was more than appropriate to quote her, especially when she implies that the how and why they are essential for professional development. So if I want to be a good professional, I need to ask myself, how do I do what I do and why do I do this way? Here I put emotion and rationality because this is a self-study, and for many years, the researchers had focused only on rationality. The emotions were set aside, and it only became part of studies 30 years ago, so it's very recent. According to Hargraves, emotions are deeply connected with our teaching process. Beyond that, our emotions, that is different from feelings, are part of the process of creating our identities as a teacher, as a student, as a person. And there is where a self-study comes in. In this line of research, you evaluate yourself. You are the researcher and the research. So you observe your actions, the hows and the whys, and think about it. Therefore, it is a reflective process. So it's where I'm going to think, who am I as a teacher? Why do I teach in this way? Next, please. But why I use emotions identities? Well, Emotions identities, Maturana says that emotions are defined by dynamic bodily dispositions, and Norton, Wenck, Barcelos, and Martins, they advocate that identities are constructed through time, formed by our beliefs, and transformed by our emotions, by the relationships with others and with the environment. So we don't change over the night. We don't change alone. We change through language. We change through relationships. So everything help us to form our beliefs, to form our identities. Not actually form, but to construct. Next slide, please. And identities, because as Martin says here, it is impossible to talk about identity without dealing with emotion, and this without identity. Emotions and identities are inseparable, interrelated, and intrinsic. That's why I call the term emotions identities. So since she is my professor and I'm under her orientation, I also chose emotions identity because I believe that identities and emotions are inseparable, interrelated, and intrinsic. Next slide, please. Theoretical reference. Pena says that to understand the transformation of professional identities requires a deep and more attentive look at some essential points, such as beliefs and emotions, which are intrinsically related in the process of becoming a teacher, and that will guide both the change of who am I as a teacher and how I act. As such, configuring the ways in which the subject's practice takes place in the classroom. So a self-study will guide us during this process, this reflective process. So that's why I consider me, Larissa, I consider this work with Professor Swelling an innovation because we are doing a work that it is a self-study that is new, about emotions and identities, also new, focus on a student teacher. There are not many works on this. They are more focused on the student, how the students are affected by the teacher. How can our class traumatize them if we do it wrong? They're always about the student, never about the teacher. And now we are doing a self-study about emotions identities of a student teacher, not only a teacher, but a student teacher. And that makes a big difference. Next, please. Okay. So considering that we are in the pandemic, I started this project this year. I was invited to be a volunteer teacher at UESC English. And it was, I think, very difficult, very challenging, actually, because we had remote classes. So it was a class with 20 or more students watching remotely, and everything needed to be different, adapted. I needed to adapt my way of teaching, my plannings. Therefore, my meetings with my political friend, the way I can put it, they were all online. We did a reflexive diary, text or audios recorded after the class, not always I could do right after the classes, because I also work and I am a student, so I needed to do other things too. but I always started a draft about how I felt during the class. What did I do? How I think they felt when I did something. And I wrote, and sometimes I recorded audios. And then my critical friend, she would read and listen and give me suggestions and help me through my reflective process, always guiding me, not allowing me to get nervous, upset, or giving up. We also did collages, one in the beginning of the classes and one at the end, where I chose pictures that reflect the way I was feeling in the beginning, and one at the end. And we also did an interview that were questions that my professor did to help me to think deeply about this process of teaching. Next slide, please. So the results and discussions. Just to remember, they are partials. My beliefs didn't match with the teacher I want to be. When I thought about being a teacher, I thought about the teacher that makes a change in students' lives, that could help them to not be traumatized by the English. Because we know a lot of students, they are afraid of English. They are afraid of speaking. They think they don't know English, and that's a lie. We know it's a lie. And I wanted to be this teacher, this amazing teacher that is always there and help them to get rid of this weird emotion. But I wasn't this teacher. When I started the reflective process, I realized that I was just another teacher that focuses only on grammar, and I want you to speak like the grammar, just the grammar. Not, I don't want you to communicate. I was doing this, unfortunately. I was doing this. But now I know that I'm not going to do this anymore. I was very afraid of not being accepted as a teacher. So because of my age, because of my experience, because of my feelings, my emotions, I never felt validated. I never felt like a real teacher. I always thought, I don't have I'm not good at teaching. I'm not good at speaking. I'm not good at anything, so I can't help others to be good at this. And I think a part of this is because I always thought students as don't have like a previous baggage of English, but they have, and this makes a difference. Now I'm still afraid. I'm still in this reflective process, so it's something to work. On the days that I felt personally down, I thought I wasn't a good teacher. So sometimes, because of my classes, because of my work, or because of my personal life, because of the pandemic, sometimes I started my class feeling very sad, very nervous, or very anxious. And this, of course, affects my students, affects my classes, affects the way I planned the classes. So I thought, oh, I'm not a good teacher because I'm not leaving. I thought I needed to leave my emotions aside. I will leave my emotions, my feelings at home, and I will start the class. I will be another person, another teacher. But no, I am human. I'm allowed to have these emotions. And of course, this is another thing to work because I'm still in this process. Now I understand that I'm human. Now I understand that it's okay to not feel 100% good all the time. And sometimes, actually, most of the times, my students helped me. They made me happier. They made me feel. They made me feel better about myself, about my teaching, about the life. Next, please. So my conclusion until now, emotions are a cycle. Teacher affects students and student affects teacher. We always heard that the teacher affects the student. So if the teacher comes very angry, the class will be horrible and the students will be traumatized. But if the students are not feeling good, the teacher gets sad and feels down. So students are also affect the teacher. What we learn about teaching has influence in our beliefs. So as I said before, because of my previous teachers, I thought I only needed to focus on grammar. And now my teachers at UESC, they changed it. And I have these amazing teachers that are telling me, no, you don't need to focus only grammar. Grammar is just one small part. To communicate is the focus. The student, he doesn't want to learn English to talk, and I quote correctly. They want to learn English to communicate with others. We are moved by our feelings and our emotions, and belief shows us who we are and want to be as a teacher. So we can't think that, oh, my classes were bad, so now I'm feeling down. Actually, it's the opposite. I was feeling down, so my class wasn't that good because I wasn't that good. So we are moved by our feelings. And to know our emotions, to work on our emotions, in our beliefs, to work on those two, we are constructing our identities as teachers. And I'm still figuring out who I am as a teacher. As I said, it is a process. It's not overnight. And that said, next slide. I would like to thank you for the patience, for listening. I don't know if my internet froze, but I can only hope that you understood and felt related to it. Thank you all. Those are the amazing works that I based my work on.
Thanks, Larissa. It was so great to hear you and your experiences and everything that you told us. And for sure, you touch us, okay? For sure. Wait, there will be many questions. Now, our Francielli Moraes, please.
So, good night. Good night, everyone. My name is Francielli. And I'm a little bit emotional because of Lari's research still, but today I'm going to talk a little bit about the critical aspect of songs. So, the name of my research is linking the critical to the enjoyable, music as a critical instrument in English teaching and learning. And my professor is Tati Pertel Sabaini. She's here. And I want to thank the Language Week for this opportunity. And let's start. Can pass the slide. So, well, first of all, when we talk about music in the classroom, usually we hear some students saying that they learn English through music, or that music play a very important role in their learning process. It's quite common for us because music is motivational, so it is very used in the classroom. So as shown by the study conducted by the British Council in 2015 and 2019, music is among the resources that help the teacher most in pedagogical work, as well as being the most motivating for students. But much more than that, I believe it's important for us to remember that music reflects the cultural values. So according to authors like Pereira and Tavares, songs are individual manifestations that reflect the values and ideas of the collective, of the social. And music can only be understood as such in its dialogue with the human society. So for that reason, we can never reduce songs to a sequence of sounds, because the lyrics reproduce our actions, our feelings, and our thoughts on the world. So music stimulates critical reflective thinking and active citizenship. So music are way more than just a sequence of sounds. That's what we must keep in mind. Can you pass the slide, please? Okay, so according to some authors, like Gomez and Lima, there is a tendency in L2 classes to view music as a purely entertaining resource and disregard other important characteristics, which leads to a loss of opportunity for critical reflection. And Lima says that in doing so, the teachers risk to transform one of the most powerful didactic pedagogical resources in foreign language teaching into a kind of pastime. So we sometimes teachers end up not paying attention to the potential of music in the classroom that is way beyond fill in the gaps activity or just listening. You can pass the slide, please. Thank you. So based on all of that, the aim of my research that is also on process is to investigate whether and or how music can be a pedagogical instrument with the potential to join entertaining aspects with critical, reflective, and intercultural ones. Can pass, please. Well, the methodology used, it is an interpretive qualitative research, and we use as a theoretical framework the critical applied linguistics and the critical pedagogies with authors such as Camarada de Bello, Penny Cook, Freire, and others. Well, we developed an online questionnaire in which 7 teachers from the cities of Guaraci, Salvador, Itacaré, Itabuna, and Ilhéus, who teach or taught in public or private schools in the elementary school 1 and 2 and high school participated. The questions was based on fundamental themes for this research, like the use of music, the critical reflective aspect of songs, interculturality, linguistic variation, among others. So it is a lot of things. We try to see many aspects of songs, how teachers use songs in classroom by using all of those tools. Okay, so during this research, we could find some very interesting things. The first of them is that something that I believe we already know is that music facilitates memorization. There is, according to Murphy, a phenomenon called "song stuck in my head," which is when the song gets stuck in your head out of the blue, and let's say you're cleaning your house, and all of a sudden the song starts playing in your head, and you're like, where does it come from? And according to him, this is a very interesting phenomenon because it helps the students to memorize some structures of the language. So one of the teachers interviewed, she could perceive this phenomenon, and she said that music keeps repeating in the head, and this is very important because the listener is able to absorb the message that music portrays. Also, we could realize that music can be an opportunity for the teacher to remind his own learning process. And the teacher too says, being able to see some of my students vibrating with joy when they manage to learn the lyrics makes me think about the beginning of my own learning process. And I think that this is very beautiful because the teacher is able to put himself in the student's shoes and remind about his own learning process, the struggles that he had. I found this very beautiful. And also, like we discussed already, songs are motivating, they are entertaining and fun. For Sekef, music has a joyful characteristic that motivates, excites, and educates. Like one of the teachers says, it makes it fun to learn and the class flow in a more spontaneous way. Okay, you can pass the slide, please. But most importantly, music helps developing critical reflective thinking. So one of the teachers uh, said that she always tried to use music that aroused interest, not only by programmatic content, but also by the social issues of everyday life, of the realities that we face at the moment. And this particular teacher, she used a song by Britney Spears, Hit Me Baby One More Time, to talk about the pandemic time that we are living right now. And another teacher says that through music, we can conduct investigations into the culture present in the song, its context, historicity, in addition to problematizing social issues such as racism, sexism. Another thing that about songs is that it is an opportunity for helping students to develop autonomy of thinking and acting. And here we can remember that for Camarava de Velo and Freire, both teachers and students can exercise their autonomy. Uh, and if we think about songs, it is very present in students' lives already. So if we're able to teach music in a more critical, reflective way, we can help them to do this by themselves because it is already part of their lives. Music and language can be in tune too. So for bell hooks, for example, through it, elaborate what she calls a counter language. And in some music like the spirituals and hip hop, there is a subversive power. So she says that in spirituals, for example, the English that is spoken in spiritual, it is a rupture, reflects a rupture, the broken world of the enslaved people, how they suffered. And she talks about hip hop too, how hip hop is critical reflexive, how it makes us think about other realities. And this is something that we as teachers should keep in mind when we plan to work with music in the classroom. Okay, so you can pass the slides. So I brought here a quote from SICAP that I think she sums up very well about all the possibilities of songs. So she says that going beyond logic and routine thinking, enabling liberating procedures, and optimizing cognitive and creative functions, the musical experience intended in education does not exactly concern the of characteristically beautiful, notably well-made masterpieces, but to all those who motivate the individual to break rigid ways of thinking, moving to the projection of feelings, helping him in the development and balance of his effective intellectual and social life, contributing to critical thinking. So as long as we choose songs that, like she says, break rigid ways of thinking, help him to think about other realities, we are already using music in a critical way. So, okay, can pass the slide. Another thing that is very interesting is that music is an important tool for interculturality teaching and linguistic variation. One of the teachers, for example, he says that the music industry um, is always involved with English. There are Indians singing in English, Brazilians, Cubans, Colombians, and he says that all music brings with it this baggage of the artist and his culture. And this is a huge opportunity for the teacher to explore. And this has a lot to do with the competence the fourth competence that says that the students should develop discursive repertoires of the English language used in different countries and by different social groups within the same country in order to recognize linguistic diversity as a right and to value the heterogeneous, hybrid, and multimodal uses emerging in societies. And we should also consider that classrooms are different. Classrooms are heterogeneous. According to Penny Cook, in the classroom, there is a whole circulation of different ideas, cultural forms, ways of thinking, being, and speaking. And finally, we must think about what we consider when we think about culture, because culture is not only the customs, the beliefs, the behaviors of people, but we, according to Mendes, we should understand culture as the broader dimension of human experience. So it is very complex, very fluid, always changing. It's not a static. Culture is not static, so we must understand it that way. Okay, moving on. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the relationship between music and empathy. So, according to the NCC, there is the competence 9 that says that students must be able to exercise empathy, dialogue, conflict resolution, and cooperation, respecting and promoting respect for others, as well as the human rights, welcoming and valuing the diversity of individuals and social groups, their knowledge, identities, cultures, and potentialities without prejudice of any kind. And there is a quote by Denora that I think is very beautiful. She says that music is a mirror that allows one to see oneself. So through music, we can see us. Music is a mirror. We can see us. We can see the other. So I brought here two examples given by the teachers. The first one talks about his experience with the music "Beautiful" by Christina Aguilera, and he says that this song made students reflect on self-love and respect for others. And the other teacher says that in the lyrics of the song "Favela" by DJ Alok, she could teach grammar, but not only that, she used the song and the video to draw attention to the social problem of that community, which is the reality of many in many other countries. So it is very interesting how we can use music to help students to think about others, to think about other realities, and to think about themselves as well, to see music as a mirror. Okay, moving on. Moving on. Okay, so because music help us to develop empathy and otherness, according to Paiva, students establish emotional bonds with their favorite artists. So one of the teachers, she talks about her experience with Michael Jackson. She says, I used to say helps me to increase my vocabulary, pronunciation, as well as my dancing skills. So I used to say that Michael Jackson was my teacher. And this is very interesting because she was able to establish this kind of emotional bond. And even though it is nice, because even though it was not in the classroom, she exercised her autonomy of learning. And Michael Jackson was her teacher, a great teacher, by the way. So according to say Catherine Clark et al., music makes it possible the creation of an imaginary person with whom we feel empathy to. That's the reason why she was able to establish these emotional bonds. Actually, also for the Nora, the sense of self is locatable in music, because musical materials provide terms and templates for elaborating self-identity and for identities identification. And for Murphy, unspecified addressing, that he analyzes the recurring usage of the pronouns I and you in pop style songs. And one of his conclusions is that there is a sort of unspecified addressing, as when someone yells, "Hey you," on the street and everyone stares back. So even though it was not for you, you will stare back because it's "Hey you," it can be anyone. So in the songs, because of these pronouns, you, me, that is very frequent, even though the song was not written for us, we feel like it was. We feel like it's talking to us, and this is very interesting because we can identify with the song. We feel like the artist is talking to us directly at us. Okay, moving on. So I brought here a quote by Levitin that I think it's very beautiful as well. And he says that one of the reasons that we're willing to make ourselves vulnerable to our favorite musicians is that they often make themselves vulnerable to us. The power of art is that it can connect us to one another and to larger truths about what it means to be alive and what it means to be human. So I think he sums up very, very well. Okay, you can pass the slide. Another thing that we could realize is that music can maximize learning opportunities in the classroom. So one of the teachers points out that during a class, we were discussing duality, respect, behavior, and all of a sudden, the idea of exemplifying the situation with music arose. This usually occurs, that is, using songs that reflect the ideas in the class. So Kumara Vadivello says that anything that students bring to class, we can use as an opportunity for maximize learning opportunities. So doubts, ideas that they bring to class. And this teacher, he was able to do exactly this because he changed his class in order to a very creative way. So they were discussing about individuality, respect, behavior, and he was able to remember about a song that talks about that. So we can do that as well. We don't need to uh, follow a script all the time. We can change. We can be creative. Okay, so moving on. And also, we must remember that there is a dialogue between listener and composer. So for Sekef, musical language does not have a meaning by itself. It is actually the subject who creates meaning to it through his tastes, culture, emotions. If there is no listener, there is no song because it is always this dialogue between composer and listener. So for Petrarca, responsive understanding enables me to see the other person and also to see myself with the eyes of the other. And finally, Sekef says, the song is only complete in the listener's ear. So like I said, if there is no listener, there is no song because it is a dialogue. It is a two-way street, let's say. So it's important for us when we listen to a song that we remember about that we are having a conversation with the song. We're not just listening to it passively, let's say. Okay, so we can pass the slide. And another thing that the teachers remind us is that it is important for us as teachers to be aware of the sensations of the moment. So the professor too says that we as teachers need to be aware of what our students are tuned in. And another teacher says, I'm very into the pop world and the music's present in my day-to-day to do almost everything as I use social media to update myself about this universe. So I'm also aware of the sensations of the moment. So it's important for us to be paying attention to what the students are listening to what to their favorite artists, to the sensations of the moment. Okay. But not everything is rainbows and butterflies and positive things. There are some challenges when it comes to using music in the classroom. And the first challenge is I'm pretty sure almost every teacher probably have gone through. And the teacher 3 says the classrooms in the school are small and very close to each other. And the result is that the noise is in one class disturbs the other one next to it, which somehow working with music. And this is a barrier. We must take this into account. The second challenge is the songs were chosen by the school leadership, and almost always this choice was governed by questions of grammatical order and memorization of sentence patterns. So this teacher says that according to the institution, this is going to happen. So the school leadership will choose we choose the song, we choose the purpose for the use of songs. So It is another barrier. And another challenge is that unfortunately, many students have an idea that they will never be able to learn English, and that language is very difficult. So Larissa and Luana talk a little bit about this as well. So this is another challenge that we have, because even though songs are motivating, even though songs are fun, entertaining, if the students have this belief, it is going to be difficult for them. Even though songs are, let's say, incredible, nice, motivating, it is a challenge, and we must take this into account. And another challenge was about the textbooks. So for one of the teachers, music seems to work in textbooks much more as an auxiliary tool, and it does not explore all its potentialities. So most of the activities in the books are to complete the lyrics with the missing words or recognize expressions and vocabulary. So it's very limited. And finally, uh, many teachers do not exploit music activities, and this reinforces the stereotype that it is not possible to learn from music. Many teachers use a musical activity as a complementary activity or even a pastime. And most students often view music lessons as little games to kill time. So music is just for fun, or it's for fill in the gaps activity for grammar. And we need to, maybe we can use it in a more critical, reflective way. Okay, moving on. So the results and discussion. So during the research, it was possible for us to obtain, but it is also an intercultural, aesthetic, dialogical, and critical tool. Besides, it was also possible to verify that the use of music in the classroom has many possibilities and many challenges, and that teachers recognize the importance of working in the classroom with music in a critical, reflective way by taking into account its multiple possibilities. Also, it was mentioned that music is sometimes seen as a complementary tool by teachers, and that students often view music lessons as little games to kill time. And a possible solution to this is to, according to one of the teachers, clarify to the students the purpose of the class and why they are listening to music at that moment. Nevertheless, it's important to keep in mind that it is not enough for the student to hear his favorite song, but he needs to be able to problematize the lyrics as well as to understand the effects of meaning produced by it in a critical way. Finally, it is crucial to empower teachers to realize the potential of music in the classroom. Okay, can move. So the conclusion how can we English teachers become critical agents of transformation? Well, I believe it is possible as long as the teachers understand the context of their classroom, and as long as they are attuned to the sensations of the moment, knowing the cultural repertoire of their students, and as long as the work with music is not fortuitous, but has a pre-established goal. How to combine the entertaining dimension, which generates motivation, to the reflexive criticism in the teaching of English? Well, firstly, it is necessary for the teacher to know the multiple possibilities of music that we could see in this study, and understand that it's not just filling the gaps activities, listening. It is also necessary to bring songs that are part of the culture repertoire of the students, and bring critical reflective themes. We must also remember that music dialogues with other languages. So, for example, we can do activities such as singing, painting, dance, theater. There are a lot of ways we can use songs. And the teachers interviewed, they gave us some examples, like the teacher that used the pandemic situation, and she used the song by Britney Spears, "Hit Me Baby One More Time," in order to talk about this context that we're in, to problematize that, to discuss that with the students. So there are a lot of possibilities. We don't have to be stuck just to grammar, or just to spend time, to kill time. And finally, it is equally necessary for the students to be able to critically reflect about songs. You can move on. So, to sum up, I believe that music is an alternative teaching material that opens space for critical reflective teaching, because because, like we could see, it reflects historical and social values. It is a dialogue between listener and composer. It is an important tool for interculturality teaching and linguistic variation. It helps to develop otherness and empathy. It may raise critical reflective questions, and it has a transforming role in reality. So, in the face of what was discussed, it is possible to realize that music can be an alternative material that contributes to teaching learning of English because the entertaining and motivational aspects, united to the intercultural and critical reflective ones, can enhance learning possibilities. In addition, it was possible to verify that despite the challenges in the classroom, teachers use creative strategies in the classroom that combine this more playful side of songs with its critical reflective side. So that's pretty much it. You can pass the slides here, the references. Thank you all very much. I hope I was not very nervous. Thank you.
Wow. Wow, I'm so glad. I'm actually speechless. Well, girls, you rock. And, I'm so glad to be here to listen to your studies. My God, they are so, you know, interesting. They can help us. You girls and advisors are doing a great job. And I'm really happy to be here and have the opportunity to listen to you, Luana, Lari, and Fran. Lu, Lari, and Fran. As you know, I love nicknames. So, girls, we have many questions, but before, I'd like to thank the participants, my colleagues, Luciana, thank you, Lu, Isaiah, Swelling, and my students, and everyone who could, tune in for our roundtable. Thank you so much. Now, let's see the questions. Okay, girls. We have many. Just a second. Okay, girls. Let me say, I'm trying to find. Okay. Larissa, there were challenges during the online classes. And how did you feel when they happened?
I honestly felt very, very nervous and disappointed with myself, especially because technology has a tendency to fail me. So the first time I had a problem, I couldn't scream my YouTube video, and I get really upset. I felt really down. And then one student said, "No, teacher, no problem. Send me the link and I will share my screen for you." And I was like, "Oh, thanks God, a student helped me." And this is something that me as a teacher, I need to think about it, because we always think that we teachers need to do everything alone and by ourselves. And no, we students can they can be active in the class, so they can help us, especially with technology. So yeah, that's the way I felt.
Thanks. Now, next. Cynthia Vieira. Cynthia, thank you so much for your comments. Thank you. So, her question: what kinds of emotions emotions do you imagine when you think about yourself as a language teacher?
Can I speak first?
Yeah, go.
Okay, so when I read this question, the first word that came to my mind was responsibility. Because when we're students, we're just, we don't care that much about the future, about how when we enter in the class as a teacher, as a professor, the students are looking to you, they're looking at you. And it's the weight of the responsibility was so strong when I actually found students from the past, from before I even got to college, and they were like, "Oh, I remember you. You're Luana. You said this, and that." And I was like, "Oh my God!" And then there's this responsibility, and then there's this insecurity. When Larissa was speaking, I was like, "Yeah, I feel you, girl," because I was so insecure. I still am insecure, but the thing is, it gets better. I wouldn't say it's like, oh my gosh, now I'm not insecure anymore, but it gets a little better year by year. So I feel you, girl. I was so insecure, and I would be like, I would dread the moment I should enter in class. I would be like, oh, I don't want to teach today. And then when I was in class, I felt so light and so happy, especially when the students were giving me a great feedback. And then I was happy before that. So I guess every teacher I see by your faces that we all feel that. So these would be two words, two emotions: responsibility and insecurity.
I would say the same thing because the first thing I felt was, oh my God, this is a huge responsibility because we have to help others to learn another language. And this is a process. For some, it's very difficult, very challenging. There are a lot of things that can happen in the between. So I felt, oh my God, this is a huge responsibility. Can I handle? And after, I was like Luana said, I don't want to teach today. I don't want to give classes. I don't want to. But then I felt, oh my gosh, this was an amazing class. I'm so glad I am a teacher. Being a teacher is the best thing ever. And I've said this a lot of times to my critical friends during my research because this is so real. Being a teacher makes us happier when we like what we do and when we do in a way that we can connect with our students. Our class changes and the way we feel changes a lot.
Yeah, I believe that we feel those weird emotions, like Larissa said. We feel because sometimes we are kind of perfectionists, especially when we're starting. Like I'm just a baby. Let's say I'm still learning. I still have a lot to learn, and I feel sometimes we ourselves put this weight in on our shoulders. Like you have to be perfect. You should not make mistakes. You must do everything just perfectly, and that's, I believe that's one of the reasons why we feel this anxiety sometimes. And I believe that we have to pay attention to the moments when we're doing this to ourselves, like when we're being so hard on ourselves, so perfectionist. Sometimes it is not the students, it is ourselves. Like, what have you done? Your class shouldn't be like this. It should be other ways. And I believe that when we are like starting to learn, studying, still on the graduation, sometimes we have all of those anxieties. And I believe with experience and time, we tend uh, to relax a little more. I hope so. I hope so.
Thanks, girls. Next class, our professor, Luciana. Hi, Luciana. Thanks. Question. How can you help our students to deal with this lack of confidence, especially during this pandemic, when they feel powerless?
It's a very good question. I
It
think the
is.
first thing we need to do is to connect with them, because we are in the pandemic too. So we get them. And I think the second would be to show that we all think less about ourselves, and that is not what we think is not always true. So I think we can show them that they are good, they are great. Because how many times a student came to us and said, I don't know English, I'm bad, and they weren't. They were like amazing. So little steps we can do to improve their confidence and help them to practice the way they feel comfortable and to connect with them always.
Most of the time, I actually take some time of the class to just chat, because the students, they like ourselves, they miss this connection, like Larissa said, and these moments that they're not in class, but they are at college, they are at that place there where they can chat, they can share their doubts, they can realize their colleagues have the same doubts and they have the same fears. And sometimes I just like to chat with them, like, okay, they start talking about something and I let for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, because it's like we're machines, because we were like going through, we are like going through these pandemic moments, these tragic moments, and we are being asked to act like everything's normal. We're being asked to teach things, to evaluate them, to show, to pretend everything's normal. And I'm like, it's not normal. And I have many students that have to work during class, and I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to do? There are many people that can't work, that they just like had to they lost their jobs. And I even have students that unfortunately I see in the city, and they said, okay, I had to drop college because I had to work, and I'm always so sad about that. So I'm always trying to make my students feel like they're safe here, that I understand that there are many things going, there are so many things happening at the same time. And I think that it makes them feel a little bit more confident.
Fran, would like to say something?
Yeah, no,
Because
I
I
agree with
want
the
to.
okay, you can. I agree with the girls. I think that we must try to connect with students, and uh, I think that we shouldn't be ashamed of being vulnerable, of being of not being perfect, and saying, okay, you're feeling that. It is a valid feeling, like Lottie said earlier. It is valid. It's okay for me to feel that way. It is not. I'm human. I'm allowed to feel that way. So yeah.
Girls, you're amazing. Now, let me tell you, Luciana, what I'm doing, right? I choose a moment at the beginning of my classes, to listen to each other. We say it's a love moment. It's our first moment, that we exchange our feelings, and we listen to each other to help each other. And also, I ask my students to bring to each class, they have to bring something that make them happy. And, they exchange this thing that can be a song, that can be a book, a video, anything, and it's really great and it helps us, you know. So I would like to share, what I'm doing, and your answers, so great. Okay, many questions, girls. You rock. So Luciana asked Luana, Could you tell us about the challenge you faced to get your students to present in English? And how did you overcome them?
Okay, so that's it. I usually turn my classes into a safe place, a safe environment, and I usually kid with my students that I'm a mama bird that will just throw them out of the nest. Now you fly, because otherwise they will never speak. They will never talk in English. They'll be like, oh, I can't speak because I don't know everything, every word, every vocabulary in English, so I can't speak. I'm like, okay, but you have to. I'm telling you, you have to speak, so you will speak. But I do it in a playful way. And of course, when I see that this class, it really won't be good for them because it will harm their self-esteem more than it will help. I won't do it. I'll be like, okay, this class might not have seminars by the end of the semester, but most of them have, and that's it. It's a work that it's the last class in the semester, so I work with their self esteem through the whole semester, and I'm always reassuring them. You're doing great. Oh, this pronunciation was so good. Obviously, sometimes they will sleep on one or two words, but when they don't, I'll be like, have you tried just looking at someone you know, and complimenting something about them? These days, I was like, to my brother, oh, you did your bird. It's so beautiful. It's so well done. And he opened like a smile from here to here. So these little compliments, it's like building something from the beginning, and it makes the students feel like that they're safe to do it. That's my favorite part about teaching, actually, especially teaching English.
Wow, I'm gonna cry. Well, now next
Okay,
question.
let me just say that
Okay.
Patty is like the one I
Yes.
look after, because everyone that was Patty's student knows that
Don't say that.
affection is what she teaches us. She's the teacher that teaches us how to hug, how to embrace a class. That's it. That's it.
I told you I'm gonna cry. Don't say that. Thank you, girls. Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, wow. This round table is really amazing, and I'm so glad to be here. Sure. Yeah, no comments, for sure. Maxwell Miranda from PBD. I'm really into the idea of using music when teaching not only English, but any type of language. It's really helpful, and I always look for songs to contribute to their growth as individuals. Very good. Wow. Thanks, Maxwell. I agree. Fran, would like to say something?
Yeah, no, I think this is. I think this comment is like super because yeah, music is it's very helpful in so many ways. It can help us in so many ways. I believe that one of the things that made me feel so passionate about music in this research was because of like the possibility of songs to be like a mirror for us to see ourselves, to feel connected to the songs. I think this is one I have never thought about. I'm very fan of songs. I listen to music every day, but I've never realized that. And I believe that it is a very important tool in the class. I believe that we as teachers, we should definitely use more songs in a critical way in class. I believe it can help us a lot.
Thank you. Now, I know that we have more comments. I mean, girls, so beautiful comments, and congrats about your presentation. So, Tati, our Tati, congratulations, girls. I'm so proud of all of you, and me too. how wonderful it's to see you doing amazing research and contributing so positively to education. Yes, I agree. I totally agree. Maxwell, there is also the pressure, like, am I doing right? We just beat ourselves even before getting into the classroom. It's true. So then we are all are vulnerable, we are not perfect, and we are allowed to make mistakes. Yes, 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 1,000 times yes. Very good, Maxwell. Okay, Maxwell, I think this lack of confidence comes from this situation where they think we are there just to correct them, and they have this feeling of shame to make mistakes in front of the other students. Yeah, it can be. Yeah, I think so. Kleiny. Hey, Kleiny! Well done, girls. Hi, Kleiny. She was my student. Thank you for coming. Yes, yes. Okay. So, do you have more questions, Renatinho? Do we? Okay, I have a question. Luana, I wonder if your class, were with 45 students, do you think that you could manage to do what you're doing with 15 students? What do you think?
Actually, I think I could. I think I could. It's just that I have to make sure from the beginning that the class is a safe environment. So from beginning, I should feel, I should know, and I should make the students respect each other. But completely, maybe 2 or 3 encounters, but probably not, because it's 5 minutes and they usually don't comment on each other's, because when they present, they have their presentation written and ready. So even sometimes they can go out of the presentation, but to actually think about a comment and or a question on the other colleague, it's not that common. So usually I comment something or I make some questions, but it's 5 minutes. I wouldn't ask more than that from them. So totally it could work with a 15 students class.
Thank you. Do you know, I asked you these questions because when you said that you have 15 students, I thought, wow, it's really nice. You know that we have more than 15 students here, right? So, well, Lari, um, you said that your beliefs didn't match with the teacher you want to be. And I'd like to know, what were your beliefs, or what are your beliefs?
Well, now my beliefs are that I need to be more connected with my student. I need to sympathize and I need to understand that everyone has limitations, everyone has positive and negative emotions about themselves, and this affects our teaching learning process, especially the learning part. And now I also believe that when a student thinks that he doesn't know English, and then he starts to communicate almost 70% in English, he feels like I can't believe what I'm doing. And this feeling is, I think, is the best feeling, even for the student as for the teacher. And this motivates me. Those are my beliefs now. Before it were, I thought they were good beliefs, but they weren't. But like I said, it's a process, and I'm having great help to change them, to construct my own beliefs.
Thank you. Now, Fran. Okay. Well, I love your studies, you know, but about song music, I would like to know if you have learned English. I mean, your first contact with English was through music. Tell us.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
I have a story about this.
I knew it.
I had a teacher, one of the first I had. He taught us that song from the movie Tarzan. You know, you be in my heart. You know, it was like I need to learn English because he was a great teacher. I mean, he was you know that kind of teacher that is so passionate that you don't know what to do. You just need to learn what he's teaching. It is impossible not to. He was magnetic, and I'm pretty sure he had a very important role in my life because I never forgot this song, and I never forgot his classes either. He was like very
Wow.
inspirational for me. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. So, Renatinho, would you mind to put the comments, the beautiful comments that people, I mean, the participants have written for the girls, you know? They are, yeah, thank you. Girls, Lilia Maya said, beautiful presentations. And clapping hands. Johanna, congratulations, Larry. Arrasou. Perfect. Yeah. Ingrid Leite, you are a wonderful person and teacher, Larry. Lilian, congratulations, Luana, Larissa, and Francielli. Ellie Cynthia, I started learning English because of songs. Luciana, what a wonderful presentation, Francielli. Fran. This round table is rocking. Yeah. Thanks, Lu. Paulo. I'm shy. Miss you too. Miss you, Klein. Thank you, Paulo. Bruna. Bruna Novaes. Congratulations, girls. Great presentations tonight. Maxwell. What an amazing contribution to us. Congratulations, girls. See, girls. Juan Felipe. Fran. Klein, you guys are doing great. Yes. Thank you, Klein. Our Professor Luciana. Great suggestion, Luana. Klein. Petty classes are the best. Miss you. Miss you too. Thank you. Great, Luana. Thanks for sharing your experiences with us. Thanks. Jovelina Mendonça, parabéns para todos. Yes. Isaías, nosso Isaías, our Isaías, our professor. Congrats, you four girls. I share your positive attitude toward the teaching. Great job. Thanks, Isa. Diana Morais, congratulations. I'm really proud of you, girls. Me too. Cauana Rogério, this was awesome. Congrats. And the heart. Okay, I think the time is up. So there are a few minutes left. And what I can say, I'm really proud of you girls. I'm really interested, to see more about your studies. And please keep doing, you are doing your best for sure. And I know, I can feel, I can see, that you are great teachers and professors, and you can count on me for sure. And I love you, girls. And thank you. Thank you. Thank for, all of, the participants. And thank you, Suelen, Isaías, Renatinho, Levi, Ediele, all the organizing committee. So everybody, we are so glad. Girls, now it's your time. Please say something. Your last words. Luana?
Sorry. Okay, thanks again. Thanks, everybody. I'm always glad to come here and present at UESC. I always see the teachers I look up to, Patty, Tati Pertel, Isaías, Suelen I just met, and I already admire her so much, and many other professors at the chat. So thank you. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for the comments. I'm so happy. Bye. Good night.
Lari, your turn.
Okay, thanks everyone. Thank you, Patty. Thank you, Luana. Thank you, Fran. Thank you, everybody on the private chat that helped me through this moment. I was very nervous. And thank you all for the comments, for being here to support us. And I hope we can change a little bit the way the teaching is happening. So, good night to you.
Fran?
Thank you all very much. Thank you, Prof. Patti, Prof. Su. Thank you, Renato, everyone from the Language Week staff. For the participants, thank you for the participation. It was awesome, and I'm really happy for this opportunity. And that's it. See you guys.
We love you, Tati Pertel. We love you, Susu, our Susu. Susu is swelling. We love you, all the great teachers and professors. We love all of you, okay? The word is love and gratitude, Thank you, and have a good night. And please, tomorrow you're gonna have more round tables. Be aware, that we have more language week. Have a good night, guys, and see you.